Welcome to the Simplicity of Wellness podcast. I'm your host, board-certified holistic nutritionist and professional life coach, Amy White. The purpose of this podcast is to share information that you can use to become leaner, stronger, and healthier by losing weight, shedding inches, maintaining muscle, and managing your mind, all while living your normal, busy life in this modern, sugar-filled world. Hello, Simplifiers. Today's podcast is a little bit different than my previous podcast. Today, I'm going to post a group coaching call that I did with a guest coach. This guest coach specializes in hypnotherapy. During this group call, she takes us through a hypnotherapy session. For that reason, I'm going to put a disclaimer at the beginning of this podcast. Please do not listen to this podcast when you're driving or operating heavy equipment or doing any task that requires your full attention and focus. The best time to listen to this week's podcast will be when you are at home in a comfortable place. So let's start with introductions so that people understand who you are, what you do, how it's different, and I guess that'll kind of explain itself when you kind of explain what we're doing.
Yes, so I'm Erica Antonetti. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, a life coach, and a CEO of Premier Hypnotherapy of Sacramento out here in California. And I help people make changes through the power of their subconscious mind, since that's the most powerful part of our brain, but not everybody knows how to use it.
Okay, so basically tapping into our subconscious so that we aren't intentionally or unintentionally doing things that we are unaware of. Is that how that kind of works?
Yeah. So I've got a diagram. I'll break this down. But first I want to ask, what is everybody's perception of hypnosis? What have you heard about it? Or what do you think you know about it? Or what have you experienced with it before?
My only experience was in college. They had a hypnotherapist come in, and I just remember thinking, oh, this is a bad thing. I can't volunteer because I'll do something super stupid or really embarrassing. And that has been my perception of hypnosis.
Yeah, and it's a common thing because Vegas, they have us up here clucking like chickens, and they want to show people, things, but show Hollywood and the movies are very different from reality. We know that if we've ever, seen nurses portrayed on the movies or military, or, they tend to elaborate the truth a little bit. And Vegas shows can be the same way. So if anybody ever asks me if, are you going to make me bark like a dog? I would say, well, why do you want to bark like a dog? I can't make you do anything you don't want to do. So I had the same fears as you when I first came to hypnosis. I served in the military, and then after I was done with that, I was on a healing journey, and it led me to hypnotherapy school. And I always tell people, I actually went to help a friend sign up. She wanted emotional support. She didn't want to go into this new environment alone. And I was like, okay, I'll make sure they don't swindle you, hypnotize you and swindle you, and all this stuff. And we went, and she ended up not signing up that day, and I signed up. And I always say that hypnosis saved my life, because after challenges with PTSD, it saved my life. It changed the whole way I saw the world, and the way that I saw my own power. And so I always say it's just amazing. And I wanted to understand how the brain worked and how the mind worked at a deeper level. And it allowed me the space to do this. So what I will say about hypnosis is you won't go to sleep. You won't be unconscious. There's no way to get stuck in hypnosis, because we naturally go into hypnosis 2 times a day at the bare minimum, whether we know it or not. So it's not something you have to believe in order to do it. There's no magic to it. It's a psychological process. It's a somatic process that works with your body-mind connection. What else? Pretty much everyone is hypnotizable. we've often heard, oh, you'd have to be vulnerable or super suggestible or gullible or naive in order to be hypnotized. That's not true. According to, I believe it's a Stanford, um, it might be Harvard or Stanford research, everyone is hypnotizable. You just have to talk to those two people differently. And because I know the power of language, I'm able to, I haven't ever met anyone that wasn't hypnotized in my office. Um, I also have a white paper I want to share with you guys that I will forward to you, Amy, and you can
Okay.
share with people. And this is the common medical issues that hypnosis has been scientifically researched to help with, like smoking, weight loss, IBS, all kinds of fun stuff. So I will make sure to share this so that you guys can actually see the science that backs this modality. And then, I mean, yeah, because it's a proven therapeutic process. In California, hypnotherapists are trained legal therapists for vocational and avocational use. And so if we work with anyone that has a diagnosis from the DSM-5 or who has a medical diagnosis, we do have a process where we get referrals, medical referrals, to work with those certain things like PTSD or trauma, stress, whatever that is. Pretty much hypnosis is a really natural process. Like I said, you go through it several times a day. One being right before you wake up in the morning, like about 30 minutes after you awake, your brain is still kind of coming online and it's in this a very zen place, usually. And then sometimes it's about 30 minutes before you go to bed, you start to shift into a different gear, so to speak, and your mind's getting ready to go to sleep. And those are known as the hypnagogic state. So I'm going to do a little bit of teaching today, but not a whole lot, and I don't want to get boring. But I don't know if you've ever noticed, if you've been driving down the road and you were listening to your favorite song and you were like, oh my God, I missed my exit. Or we got here so fast. It felt like it just took a minute. And it's because we were in autopilot in hypnosis. We went that way so many times that our car, we know exactly how to drive our car and jam out to the music. And we're not under threat, so we don't have to be like hyper alert. And that's pretty much a state of environmental hypnosis. Or if you've ever been in church and you just kept yawning and you couldn't quit yawning and your butt hurts and you're like, oh my goodness, when's he going to be done? You're in a state of environmental hypnosis. Or if you've ever been in a movie theater and you know that the people are not real and the event that's happening is not real in that moment, and yet you're moved to tears or you're jumping out of fear. That's because you've temporarily suspended your critical factor in order to be entertained, and you've gone into a state of hypnosis.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And it feels real, right?
Oh,
If
yeah.
you've ever cried in a movie or been afraid, it feels very real, but we know it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yet we're still able to access those emotions and those feelings and those thoughts around this environment that we have put ourselves in.
Uh-huh.
So all of that is environmental hypnosis. It's very common.
So I have a question, Susan and Sarah. Have either of you had any experience with hypnosis?
Only when I heard patients that attempted it for smoking cessation.
Sarah's a nurse.
Nice. Oh, that's interesting because I used nurse as my example earlier. Nice.
Sorry, I've seen it in like shows like you're talking about, Amy, and also I did have a class where a teacher, it was a mind-body class, and a teacher brought in a hypnotherapist and took us through something, and I don't, like, I came out of it, I mean, I didn't know if I went in it or came out, like, do you know if you've been, hypnotized?
Right. It feels different for everyone. Some people feel like the light tingly sensation or like they're floating or maybe like feeling like a little bit of like kind of groggy. Some people I tend to feel very heavy, like my body weighs a gazillion pounds in a really good way. Like I'm in the most deep state of comfort and I just don't want to move because it feels so good. Um, and then some people feel nothing, physical sensations at all. And so however you experience it is just right for you, and it can change over time. And that's another reason why we wanted to do this a few times with you, because it's with anything in life, it's just unlearning the old and replacing it with the new. And in order to do that, we want to do repetition, right? Because everything that we do more than once or twice, we get better at as we do it. So my goal for today was to introduce you guys to me and hypnosis, and to do something that's very not even associated with weight loss or being like super healthy. This has no like really big goal. It's just like a feel good session where we want to just positize you guys in the right direction.
Is it possible to get comfortable with hypnosis, like having meeting with you a couple of times or however many times, to a point where we can sort of self meditate and find our hypnotic state?
Absolutely, because once you start to feel what that feels like for you, and then you'll hear me a few times and you'll kind of know like how this goes, right? So you'll kind of like it sounds a lot like meditation, but I think the difference between hypnosis and meditation is very passive. It wants you to empty out your thoughts, which can be really challenging because our brains have a lot to say all the time about everything. And with hypnosis, I say it's like meditation. It feels good like that, but it's meditation with a purpose. And so you're going to be active, and I will be directing you to be doing something in your brain, and you'll be focused on that.
Ooh.
And so, where a lot of people quit meditation because they're like, I just can't do it, or they think they're doing it wrong, hypnosis can be a really great segue into the like more mind ninja meditation stuff later on down the road.
Yeah. I love that. Meditation with a purpose. That really pushes my buttons.
Yes. This is just a quick explanation. It's not, if you're all scientists, like we would have a very different conversation if I had a neuroscientist sitting in front of me. But for the layman, we give you just like the bare bones basic science and psychology of it all. So let me see here. Yeah. So let's just say this is your brain, and this is going to represent what we call the theory of mind. And so we have, you've heard that when children are born, we start with a blank slate, right? It's not new. And we have this part down here in our brain that's called the primitive part of our brain. And
we can see it totally.
Yeah, and that's the amygdala. If you're aware of what the amygdala is, it processes our threat in our environment, and it keeps us alive. Its prime directive is to keep us to surviving. And so it has, its job is to keep us alive, and it screens our environment for threat, and we have fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn. And essentially, this is how you deal with the stress of living, everyday stress. In modern day, well, let's just say in caveman days, fight would have been like, I see a tiger, I have a club in my hand, I can beat the tiger down in order to survive. And in modern day, it's anxiety. I have to go to work, I've got this deadline, I've got to go to college, I've got this project due, and you're just in the fight every day trying to stay alive. And then flight is, there's a tiger, I'm far enough away from it, I can run and I can escape. And that might look like modern day depression. It's like, I just can't do this job at corporate another day. I'm going to take a nap instead. So we've got anxiety, depression, and then the last one would be freeze. And that's what we know as modern day procrastination. If the threat is so close, we can't get away, we just roll over and play dead. And that's actually Yeah, so we'll just fight, flight, or freeze. That's anxiety, depression, and procrastination. And procrastination can have a positive. It can have a positive on us. Depends. Like if we have a lot of us women, we love to make lists in order to keep our lives running in order. And if you have 20 things on the list, you might get to number 3 or 4, and then you're just like, okay, I'm done. And that's a kind of a built-in survival mechanism so that we don't burn out. So in that way, procrastination can serve us because it says, no, just take a break. You've done enough for today, and we'll pick it back up tomorrow.
Mm.
But in some ways, it can be non-beneficial to us, and then we have to kind of work on why are we stalling on this thing that's so important to us. So from about 0 to 9 years old, all children hear everything that they hear, they take it in as absolute truth. And that's why we believe that, Superman can fly, and we see our little 5-year-olds jumping off the couch and pretending they're Superman, or why they believe in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, because they don't have that critical filter built yet enough in their mind or in their brain in order to be able to decipher what's true and what's not. And so they take that in as absolute truth. And then around 9 years old, we kind of build this critical filter. Now, everything that we've taken in is absolute truth. It could be like, my brother says I'm stupid,
Mm-hmm.
or my mother says I'm special. And it could be like, I love cake on my birthday, but I hate spinach. Or I love hugs and kisses, but I hate to be kicked and spanked. Or I love cats because they're so cuddly, but I got bit by a dog. So this here is our known associations, and what we learn is good, bad, and this becomes our subconscious mind. Now, our subconscious mind is about 88 to 90% of our total brain power. It's the storehouse for all of our knowns of our experience of the world, and all the people and all the ideas and things we've come across. And some of you might be aware that this is also where the pain pleasure principle comes from. So like in cases of domestic violence, we ask, why does a woman stay? And it's, well, maybe she was raised in a domestic violence household, and she only knows love to be this type of way, controlling, abusive, whatever. And so we would, as a hypnotherapist, we've got to kind of make that a negative for her so that she can change her life if she's not happy. And what happens here is this becomes your known. This is all your knowns. So this is where you hear like the fear of the unknown. Anything unknown to the brain, it's not going to go toward it. And this is where all your storehouse for emotions, memories, this is where the trauma kind of gets stored, but especially down here around the primitive part of the brain. So up here is your conscious mind. It's 10% of your total brain power, but it's the part that everyone thinks that we're all using all the time. Like we all tend to think, oh, I'll just make the decision and I just go do it. And that's a part of it because it all works together. But as you can see, it's not the part that really motivates you to do anything. And that's why, well, let me go back. The conscious mind is made up of our logic, our reasoning, analyzation skills, willpower, and it's pretty much the thing that helps us to balance the checkbook every month. When we have a thought like, I want to lose 20 pounds, the thought will go in the way we process it through our conscious mind, our neocortex, and it's going to have to go through the critical filter and go check in with the subconscious. And if you maybe grew up in a sedentary family where nobody worked out, you might go to the gym for 2 weeks on January 1st, and then you're going to run right back into old patterns and habits because that's what's running the show. it's going to kick that thought right back out of the brain, and you're going to, have paid for a gym membership and not even gone the whole year. Like, we've all seen it before when we want to make like New Year's resolutions. So what we do in hypnosis is we bypass the critical filter. We open the door, and then we go in and we change those, whatever it is you want to change, we change those to positives, and we close it back up. And then your patterns change, your behavior changes. Now, it's not a magic pill, because obviously you've got to, it's nothing I can make you do without you wanting to do it. But we do it through hypnotic suggestions that are positive, that are what we've already agreed on that you want to work on. And of course, how it relates to this group is y'all are on a journey for a healthier body and healthier lifestyle. And so those positive suggestions would be tied to that. Pretty much how it works. Like, that's the magic of it. And it has to do with your parasympathetic system and your sympathetic system, right? Like, if your sympathetic system is activated, that means you're in fight, flight, or freeze. We know how the body responds. I always say that this primitive part of your body is like the emergency room. And we don't want to be in the emergency room more than like 10% of our whole life. Right. It's like, if you want to, if you get a tough diagnosis or something, you want to be able to handle it, but you don't want to stay there. So we want to engage your parasympathetic system so that you're in that, restful space, that calm space in your body, so that you can make decisions and make changes that you want to make.
That was really cool. Very interesting. I loved how you put the fight, flight, and freeze from primitive to modern.
Yes.
It was really interesting to see the anxiety, the depression, and the procrastination just broken out. I was like, oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, and I love when you said roll over and play dead, right? That's procrastination. We're freezing. We're just like, okay, I'm just going to pretend, if no one can see me, that this is not a thing.
Yeah, because we all deal with daily stress, and I feel like time's even moving. I just feel like it's gotten, it's more stress, right?
Yeah.
Social media and
yeah.
All the things, right?
But
pandemic and all that.
So one of the big things that happens with my group when everybody starts managing their food in a way that's kind of working for their body and they're feeling better is that anxiety goes away. So that we come out of that fight mode. I have to think a lot more about this with the anxiety and the fight, because I always talk about traditional weight loss as being this fight against your body. And then what we're doing is we're learning how to work with our body. So we're coming out of that fight mode and we're going into that sort of calm space that you described. Yeah, that's so interesting. And it's just one of those things that I don't often tie in for people, is this idea about calming anxiety. But my daughter made a really good point with me the other day. She's 31, and she said the millennials, they are body positive. It's a body positive group. They're like, it's not about weight for them. They're like, yeah, I love the way I look and, whatever it is. She goes, their focus is all about their anxiety. She goes, Mom, I don't know one person aside from myself and her husband who isn't on anxiety medicine. She's like, everybody's on anxiety medication, even more than one. And so I was just like, yeah, that's so interesting, because they don't know how to manage that sympathetic nervous system, and they have this crazy level of anxiety, which is so interesting. So anyway,
I'm a millennial, so I feel that so hard, and I'm not on anxiety medicine, but that's because I went
well, you've learned how to work with your mind. Yeah.
And it is interesting about the body, because I was like, I've always, I'm like, I was raised in the South, and their ways can be a little different than how we do things out west. Like, every area in our country is like regionally different.
Yeah.
It has its differences and cultural differences, and so I was raised like doing pageants, and being a child performer, entertainer, singer, dancer. So looks were very important. But I was not raised with like, we didn't diet in my household. We
Yeah.
didn't step on the scale. It was like, oh, we just like learned to like we just loved our bodies,
Yeah.
and then we didn't have any thoughts about our body being against us, so it never was,
Right.
and
Right.
then when I went into the military, where it was very body focused, very like it was wild, as far as like they would break out the measuring tapes, and if your waist is not a certain type, it's certain amount, and so it's like then I started having body issues, and I'm like, it's because my thoughts about my body
Mm-hmm.
that changed my body.
Mm-hmm. Precisely. Yeah.
So that's the power of the mind, right? It's like what we focus on follows. So are
Right.
we focusing on the negative, or are we focusing on the positive? Are we accepting what we can control? Are we accepting what we can't control?
Right.
Where are we taking personal responsibility? It's kind of all a dance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so our first little experience I'm going to have you guys do is we're going to do like Charlie's Angels here. We're going to clasp our hands here and clasp them together and give ourselves a little gun.
Okay.
Okay, and then I want you to like pull your fingers out wide, and so that you can look and put them, right eye level, and go ahead and just focus on those fingers. And yep, there you go. And just stare at the space in between those fingers and keep focused on them now. And looking at the tips of your fingers as they start to come together in little jerky motions. Now keep focus, keep focus, keep focus on the tips of your fingers. That's right. It's interesting, almost like how a string is just pulling them closer and closer together. Closer and closer. And just imagine that hypnosis, feeling the fingertips now. And feel the fingers coming together now. And allow that hypnosis, once they touch, to go down through the fingers. Letting them touch, letting them move closer and closer, closer and closer in little jerky motions. And we'll wait for everyone to get there. That's right, because sometimes it's a little slower, sometimes it's a little faster. And just allowing that to happen now. That's right, very good. And as you allow those fingertips to touch, allow that hypnosis to go down through the fingers and into the knuckles, and into the palms of the hands, and into the wrists, and the elbows, and the shoulders. And allowing that hypnosis to move up the neck, and down over the back of the head, and over the front of the face and the forehead. And allowing that hypnosis to trickle down over the eyes. And the eyes may want to blink. That's a natural, normal thing. And just feeling that hypnosis, no matter how it feels to you, there's no wrong way to do it. And just imagine your eyes becoming heavier and heavier, heavier and heavier. And it might feel right to close your eyes and just allow them to lock into place now. That's right, and allow every nerve and muscle to relax. From the top of your head, 10, to the top of your toes. 9, 8. Feeling that hypnosis flow through your body all the way down, touching every fiber, cell, muscle, nerve. That's right, allowing it to touch and relax, to find that comfort, that hypnosis all the way down. Feeling it drifting 10 times deeper, deeper as it moves down deeper into your body. Drifting deeper now. Allowing it to go down to the hips and the knees, if it hasn't already. Down to the calves and the feet. And you can drop your hands if that feels more comfortable. Or you can stay right where you're at and enjoy that feeling of hypnosis. And as you notice that calm and that peace, however that relaxation feels to you, you can go to that special place. That place that feels just right in your body. That place that feels clear and calm with every heartbeat and every breath. And just enjoy being there right now. And finding that comfort level that's best for you at 10 times as deep, 20 times as deep, 30 times as deep. And as you relax more and more and you listen to the sound of my voice, It's interesting to notice the state of mind that you walked into the room with, and the state of calm and relaxation that you might be in right now, or the state of wondering. And yet it's interesting when you're wandering in your mind and you're in this room and you've gone out of the room in your mind, and it's all very interesting. And whether you're right here or far away, allowing it all to be is just right. And it's interesting how we can be in this room, but we can be traveling in our minds, coming in one state of mind and going out another. And scientists tell us that our galaxy is moving through space and time at a great rate of speed. And it's interesting how we're in the Milky Way, but also in a familiar country, the United States. And you're in your room, and you're certainly in your mind and not out of it. And it's so interesting how we can be in one place and yet another at the same time. And so just allowing your mind to relax and find that peace and calm, following along, or just allowing yourself to go even deeper. There is no wrong or right way. It's just what's for you. And so just taking a deep breath in and slowly exhaling and allowing the normal, natural rhythm of breathing to occur. And there's a sense of just letting go, that it's all okay to let go now, that this is the time and the space, becoming more comfortable and aligned, more relaxed. And remembering as you open your mind to positive thoughts, ideas, positive attitudes, allowing your subconscious mind the time and the space to absorb, to assimilate, to integrate each positive thought, creating your own strong positive attitude, setting the intention that you're establishing the positive direction, and all you need to do is be comfortable and relaxed, slowing down, going within, looking inside, and remembering that negative events of the past can no longer affect you. You see them as they are, over, done, and gone. Knowing that, feeling amazing. Feeling that stress leaving your mind and your body. And the best way to think about the past, over, done, and gone. Every day being a new day, a positive day. And moving into the future with the attitude of self-assurance, liking yourself better and better each and every day, in every possible way. Positive changes, good attitude about life, and expecting the best. Positive changes in the future. More and more liking yourself each and every day in new and positive ways. Allowing these positives, the attitude, the self-assurance, liking yourself, becoming more important now than ever before. Drifting down, allowing the suggestions to absorb into the deeper mind, becoming a permanent part of the being. Liking yourself, feeling that new confidence, becoming a permanent part more and more each day. the attitude, the self-assurance. Very important. Some might call it confidence. Some might call it joy. Some might call it security. Finding those positive attributes and enjoying them. Enjoying yourself, new attitude, new security, new body awareness, permanently replaced by strong, positive thoughts. And so each and every day, you will have strengthened the filter that blocks the negatives, and you'll be less affected by negatives around you because you remove them by facing them, always replacing them with positives. That's where your control lies. Liking yourself, confident, self-assured, finding those positive attributes and enjoying them. New attitude. More positive about the future, positive about the direction you're taking, liking yourself more and more each day, feeling more empowered as you go, because it's more important to be more important to yourself more now than ever before. Always looking for more ways to feel more positive and confident, self-assured and secured about yourself, in your body, in your mind, in your life. And so now, when you know you're ready to start a brand new chapter, in a new life, in a new body, when you're ready, and you know when you're ready, you open your eyes feeling fantastic, feeling amazing, feeling on top of the world. 5, feeling amazing, feeling on top of the world. So at 0, we're going to let it all settle in, what you've heard today. And at 1, feeling good about yourself. 2, remembering always, each and every day. 3, it's a new day in your life, a new you, a positive direction. 4, coming back to where you placed yourself in the room. And 5, wide awake and alert. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, feeling amazing, feeling on top of the world. Okay. Nothing too wild, right?
Definitely made me want to take a nap. I was very relaxed.
Mm-hmm. That's that rest and digest. You know, our body is right where it wants to be because it feels so good.
I felt super relaxed. I don't know. Did you guys feel relaxed? How did everybody else feel?
I was very relaxed.
I felt I could have laid on the floor. I should have started on the floor.
Yeah. So nothing scary, nothing like it's just a feel good space. I always imagine when I go in, like I do self hypnosis, I do hypnosis on family members sometimes when they ask me to, and to me it's just like, oh, I get to go into my cocoon. This is the place where like I just go within me, and I'm surrounded by all of this like warmth and comfort, and like I get to be reminded like how good it feels, but how amazing I am because I get to see myself in a different way that we don't normally get to see out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't usually have everybody telling us how safe and amazing it is out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully this way, and as I said, like the more you do it, you'll be able to go in faster. I know oftentimes if this is the first time you've ever done it, you might be like, okay, why is she slowing down? Or like, where do we go next, right? Our brain wants to talk to us. And it's like, it's okay if it talks to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just pick back up where my voice is and you keep going.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it wrong.
I honestly, I don't know how many years ago it was now, but I took a meditation class, which sounds weird, but it was just something I saw it and I'm like, I'm doing that. And it was a group thing in the evening, and it was basically a led meditation group that we did, I think, for like a month or maybe 8 weeks. I don't remember. But since that, because I was never Jeff's big meditator, I was not. I find that I can get to that inner space really fast. Even
Yeah.
with you, with myself, if I just sit and go, I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes, I can drop in so fast. Whereas prior to that, it was just, I guess it was like you said, it was something that I learned. So it was a feeling that I learned, and so now I know that, I know when I'm there,
Yes.
I
And
guess.
these feelings are really good too because, like, when life gets really busy, like, we're entrepreneurs and we've got families to take care of, like, we've got jobs to go to. It can get wild. And what's really cool about, like, when the outer world is pushing us too hard sometimes, we like are like, oh, I'm kind of far away from that feel good feeling that I'm so used that I know that I can get to.
Mm,
That's like a cue to me that's like, oh, I need to do some hypnosis. I'll call my own hypnotherapist and say, hey, we need a tune up. I need to
mm-hmm,
get close to me again.
mm-hmm.
And I know that my body is saying, hey, I want to be back in that space, even if it's just for 5 or 10 minutes.
Right.
So it's really helpful. It can be if you get used to how that feeling feels for you and becoming aware of, like, ooh, I'm feeling a little bit burnt out. I might need to do some self care.
Yeah. I think my
Yeah.
feeling is similar to what you described, which is I get real heavy. Like it feels, but it's that really good heavy. Like I'm just like really settled in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Erica, we had talked about you're coming back on, what day in January did we decide? It was the
Second
second?
of January for the holiday overeating reset,
Yeah.
and 16 January for the goal setting jumpstart.
Yeah. Okay, good. It's funny. I mean, ideally, I want everybody to come through the holidays not feeling like they need a reset. That's
Mm-hmm.
the whole goal. But at the same time, it doesn't hurt to go, am I having some subconscious thoughts that I don't even realize? Are there things that are sort of driving me that aren't typical? Like my experience last week was just with chocolate. And it took me a minute to realize that this is just a big no for me.
I did the same thing last week. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I hadn't had an ice cream in like probably 6 months, but it's a very slippery slope,
Mm
right?
hmm. Mm hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'm done. Like, no more.
Yeah. I did my podcast on it this week and I referred to it as eating instigators, like understanding, people call them trigger foods,
Yep.
but it's really an eating instigator, right? It's a food that then sort of opens the floodgates for you to go, well, I think I'm going to have more of that. Or now that I have that, I think I'm going to have this. And it's just that instigator. So if you can put your finger on the instigator that sort of sets you off in sort of a direction that you're not typically on these days, it's good
Yeah.
just to understand that. Like, what are those things that are driving that
Yeah.
behavior? So I think that holiday reset is a kind of a good way to sort of check in and go, are there any things that are kind of lingering? I also kind of refer to it as, are there any of my sometimes foods that have sort of shifted over and I'm eating as my almost most of the time foods? When they shouldn't be there, they should be over in that sometimes category. So last week, those fancy chocolates were definitely flooding into my most of the time food, and I was like, this is not okay.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, like, with one ice cream in 6 months, that's no big deal,
Right,
right? Like, we're allowed, like, we
right.
can allow
Your
ourselves
body
that
can handle that.
sometimes. But like you said, it led to going to see Wicked, and we had like popcorn and Reese
Yep.
Pieces and like Raisinets, and then I started to feel. So even before I noticed about the food, I was like, I had a feeling of like guilt. And I was like, why? And then I asked myself, like, why do I feel guilty about that? And it was like, oh, because you're allowing yourself to take part in foods that you know like that's not really part of your plan.
Well, and you made a choice that you weren't going to do those things
Yeah,
most of the
yeah.
time.
It
Yeah.
sabotaged my plan, and then I felt like really guilt is I've done something wrong.
Mm.
And it's like, oh, the guilt is there for good reason because I went against my plan.
Yeah.
I went against my protocol.
Right.
And I have this bigger goal.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, let me reevaluate.
Right. So your brain it is sort of that red flag, and it's going, this is something you want to look at. You may feel this guilt, which you don't need to feel, but why? So it's one of those checkpoints. It's like, why do I feel this guilt? What is my brain trying to tell me? It's saying you have a plan. So, recognize, what you're doing and how you're not on your plan or whatever. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
and it's really cool. Like I've practiced all of this so much, like the life coaching and the hypnosis and stuff, that I'm very aware. Like I don't. A lot of people do pair guilt and shame together, but I never shame myself. Like I'm not bad for eating chocolate. I just did something against my plan.
Right.
Like,
I
do I
love
want to
that
keep doing
distinction.
that against my plan? Like I'm not a bad person. I just ate chocolate. I sabotaged myself essentially. So it's really cool when you start doing this deeper work that like you get your brain does the subconscious says, wait a minute, that's not our plan.
Yeah.
So it sends that little red flag, and for me, it sends it through an emotion.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
looking at that emotion and like, okay, what are we doing?
That's such a good point, though. I mean, I love that the distinction between guilt and shame. So the guilt is sort of your brain checking in with you. It's going red flag over here. Let's think about this. And the shame is that spiral of self judgment that is just useless and, in fact, detrimental, I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like I did something bad is very different from I am bad.
Yeah. We are just about out of time. Sarah, Susan, anything you want to add?
I just want to say that I am really glad this was recorded because I would like to be able to go back and, do it again. And maybe if I do it enough times, I can then do it for myself. Mm-hmm. But it's good to, just be able to close my eyes and hear your voice. And
well, and coming back on the 2nd and then on the 16th, we'll get a whole nother same thing, but just a little bit of a different narrative, which here's a question. Quite frankly, I don't think I listened to the narrative, like consciously. I heard at the beginning, I heard your words, I heard the direction on what to do with my hands and my fingers. But after that, I wasn't really hearing the words.
Mm-hmm.
Which
That's
is interesting.
Great. That's exactly, you were in.
Yeah, you're right. I got to my exit and I didn't realize it. And I'm like, oh, look, here I am.
The trigger words, like if I use a trigger word like deep sleep, it doesn't mean sleep. It just means relax more. Mm-hmm. If I use a trigger word like wide awake, right? So you're going to hear certain words that are bringing you in and out of state. Essentially, we're like a car that we're just, I'm shifting gears in your brain. Mm-hmm. That's all. And hypnosis is like this super learning state. It's an ultra learning state. This is why we don't hypnotize babies. Like their brains are already running on fifth year because they're having to learn so much in their first year, right? Like so, us humans, our brain states shift to a much like lower frequency, and then we have to intentionally shift our brain gears. So, in order.
Well, and what I'll offer, not as a downer, but in contrast, is I'm cynical, and I was trying, and my somatic response was one of extreme tightness in my head, probably because for me, what that has represented in the past is just my intellect is being compromised in some way. And I might have had moments, but the chatter was very loud.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it was, I did not, like I said, I had maybe moments of calm, but I think think throughout there was still that sense of the vice clamp, which is
Sure.
not, which physically is a very unpleasant feeling.
Yeah, yeah, because the fear of the threat, the loss of control is there.
Something.
And so this is why I made the suggestion to you to find your right level of comfort, because I know
Mm-hmm.
some of you are gonna go right in. And so, I didn't even test you guys' suggestibility today. But I assume that we have several different suggestibilities in the room. And so the suggestions I'm giving you kind of speak to all of you.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
and
I
I,
was like, I like what she's saying, but then I was like, yeah, fuck that. I
Yeah,
mean, there was like this,
sure.
there
yeah,
was just this
yeah.
fight
It,
going
yeah,
on.
for you, it's just not quite safe enough, and that's okay, because we
Something.
all have to go on our own, on our with our, not too fast, not, you're like, I just met you, right? So it there's some, maybe building that relationship and that familiarity, and as you get more comfortable practicing this for yourself, you may find that you can go deeper at some point, but and maybe you won't, and that's okay.
Sarah, do you meditate at all?
I have in the past, and I've always uh, enjoyed it. I don't. I mean, I do find it as something like I find it an experiment to see if I can just calm my mind. I mean,
Yeah.
there'll inevitably be like, oh, I'm making a grocery list, and I don't have a. We all have monkey minds. Mine's not super over the top all the time. Like I have um, heard from people who they absolutely cannot meditate because it scares the heck out of them to try and wrangle their thinking at all. So I have found when I have meditated, like it's very enjoyable. And again, it's not that I don't know you. There's something just inherently about this because there's a whole lot of things that you're saying that are all familiar terminology. I mean, I'm very familiar with the nervous system, and I'm very, I mean, all these things that you're blending in, and that's all, it sounds sort of like EMDR, a variation of like,
Yes.
so all of it makes sense. But even again, like as we're talking, like there is just something right here that's just, and for me, and again, if we get into all like the spiritual and like, it's there's something intellectually,
Mm-hmm.
which I think a lot of us, it's not just a uniqueness to my household. I think particularly in the West, we have always been um, taught to, really praise intellect.
Mm-hmm.
And so even rationally and emotionally, I can understand it, but there's something that my intellect is like, this isn't working, is the only
Yeah.
way I can describe it.
And that's interesting because for me, it's the kind of the opposite. I'm like, I don't feel like I even tap into a smidgen of the intellect that's available to me. And that being able to get into my subconscious mind to me is how I believe that I actually will learn more or in internalize more or whatever. I feel like that's a place that I have so closed off. And then I'm like, if I could just get in there. So that to me is this to me is somewhat of access to something that I can't typically do by myself.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, there's no wrong way here. Like it's like I'm reading her suggestibility just a little bit based on some of the things she said, and there's nothing wrong here.
Yeah.
So I would say take all the good from it that you want and that you can, and let the rest go. There's like, we're all going to process it differently. You may look back in a few weeks of working together and be like, I've been feeling a little bit more less anxious, or I've been feeling like I'm getting a little more from it. And you might not. You also might.
Yeah.
So just being open, willing, courageous.
Yes.
These are the things that I think make successful adults. Like.
Mm-hmm.
Susan, did you have a question?
I just wanted to say one thing, and that's that I think I would, as I was going deeper, I think I just kept coming up because I was not wanting to forget what you said, and I repeated it in my head, but I think I was so I would say my conscious mind was wanting to make sure that or something, or stayed with me or something.
Yes.
And you know, I'm thinking that in the future I should really be able to just not have to engage my conscious mind and just listen and let it, I don't know, be absorbed by my subconscious is the best I can.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm very much like Sarah. Like, again, I shared with you guys a little bit just about my, my past, and I am very, like, hypervigilance is the name of the game for me, and very intellectual, and I totally get that. There were many times where I sat for it. It took me a while to, like, gain, trust in the process. So, yeah, let it just be however fast or slow it needs to be. There's no wrong way to
What
do
was it that clicked in your head, though, when you went with your friend to sign her up, and then she didn't sign up, but you signed up? What was that moment where you're like, this is for me?
So mine's a little bit more personal. I was, I got out of the military. I was struggling with complex PTSD. By all accounts, I was suicidal. And so I was actually having like some spiritual experiences, and really just having like an existential crisis, I think. And I don't know. I don't remember like the exact moment where I was like, I need to be here, but I think it was something like, I need to know how the brain works. I need to know what am I experiencing? Like, what I am experiencing, how is my brain allowing that to be processed? Like, how is this coming into my experience? So I was like, I'm going to surround myself with all these mental health professionals, and I'm going to learn how our brain is able to do this and what this all means. And it, like I said, it saved my life.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and just the different parts of the brain, and what, when that primitive brain takes over, and just the simple awareness of being able to know when our primitive brain is running the show. It's just, first of all, knowing there's two things. There's your primitive brain, and then there's your modern brain, and then being able to go, oh my God, my reptile brain is totally trying to take over now. And just that awareness, it helps you kind of jump back into your modern thinking brain.
In the hypnosis world, we always say that eye desensitization, we don't call it EMDR, but it was like the original EMDR. And then it was, so it's like, mental health professionals they call it one thing, and then hypnotherapists call it another thing. We call it eye fascination. But essentially it's the same work, and it uses the same parts of the brain. And it's so cool how gentle it is, hypnosis, because it's not like, it doesn't re-traumatize, right? So it's so gentle. It's not like you're going to walk out and be like, oh, it's a brand new day, right? But what happens is you can look back. So like when I look back 10 years ago in my life versus like the abundance I have now, who I am in my confidence, like what I've created, I can see the evidence of the hypnosis working. So it's very interesting just how gentle the process is. I want to say thank you so much for having me. I loved getting to meet you guys. I hope to see you again. So thank you.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you like the idea of eating for the body you want? Is there a piece of you that's eager to learn how to become leaner, stronger, and healthier without having to overhaul your entire life? If this is you, then you're in luck, because this is what I do. I can help you reconnect and work with your body so that you can enjoy the body comfort and confidence you deserve eating foods you love. Click the free consult link in the show notes. Let's talk about where you are, what you want, and how you can get there.